Today is Sunday, June 29th, and my mother passed last night around supper time. And is now in peace and free from hospice and pills and pain and loneliness. She's gone to her reward. And I'm having very complex feelings about this. Like you do. Mom was born in 1930, Rochester, New York, November 13th. To a well-educated and well-off family in Rochester that the little girl on the right is my mother, Eleanor Lynwood Byers Hart, with her mom and her brother when she was a child around 1934 or 5. This is a photograph of my mother when she was sitting on her porch as a child, and this was in Rochester, New York. These are my parents on their wedding day. My mother was a painter. She graduated from college with a degree in ceramics in the early 1950s. When I was a young boy, Mom used to paint a lot in the 1960s. I can remember an easel that she had in our two-decker in Syracuse back in 1968, 1969, which had an easel on it which overlooked a beautiful park in downtown Syracuse. And she did a lovely painting that hangs in my father's home of the civic pool that was about 100 years old and very beautiful there in Syracuse in Onondaga Park around Hiawatha Lake. This is a painting that she made of a man and a child bringing home a Christmas tree they'd cut down. Late in her life, in her 80s, Mom began painting again. This is a beautiful watercolor that she did just as dementia was beginning to make itself known in her. It's a lovely painting that hangs in my bedroom. This is another painting from the same era. It's as though she knew that she was sunsetting. That her leaves were coming off. On Saturday night, 2 days ago, at about 7:30, 8 o'clock, my father called to tell me that my mom had passed. About 2 days before my mother died, and I know this is going to sound weird, I observed a black and blue butterfly right over here on the porch. And I had a feeling that someone was going to die. Because on about 6 occasions, 5, 6, 7 occasions, that we've lost someone that we loved over the last 20 years. A blue and black butterfly, which we don't see often here, has shown up on the porch, or right out in front of it, a couple days before the person passed, and then again after they passed. Mom was a lovely person. She taught me to read. She taught me to calculate. She taught me to think critically. She told me time and again to value the life I had. As a child, she told me that doctors told her all through adolescence and on that she would never bear a child. But in 1959, after she and my father had been married for a few years, I came along completely unexpectedly. I don't know what kind of plans a young married couple makes if they do not ever expect to have children. But I'm sure that an unexpected child affected my parents in the same way it affected my wife Tina and I when Emily came along. We weren't trying to conceive a child. We were just a couple in love. And sometimes the best laid plans of mice and men go astray because of an unexpected pregnancy. And different people handle unexpected pregnancies differently. I can only wonder whether my parents feared that I would be deformed, congenitally broken in some way, a problem. But God gave them a little fireball, and "66 years later, I'm still a little fireball." And as my mom foresaw, she told me, when I was about 2 years old, she saw the writing on the wall. She could see that this person, like herself, was going to be propelled through life in ways that most people are not. And she She told me from the time I could understand speech that right thinking, concern and empathy for others, including animals, and the willingness to make a new thing with whatever creativity you have is worth doing. And she nurtured me into a very creative and intelligent person. My mother did not have friends like me. And she enjoyed me. She enjoyed having someone who listened to her, respected her wisdom, and loved her company. When I learned that my mom had passed, my wife said to me, "You're taking this a lot better than I thought you would." And I told her that I've been missing my mother for about 15 years because of the circumstances of her existence, which were never in her control. You know, here in the South, you got a lot of Baptists that talk about biblical marriage and head of the household and things like that, male and female roles. My mother went where my father led, where his job took us. I really never heard her complain, but it deprived her of friendship, as it did me, to move around so much. I now live in a small town with a lot of people that have lived here all their lives, and to have that kind of a foundation, a social foundation, as far as I'm concerned, is absolutely important for a child during the first 10, 15 years of their life. Transitions are tough for everybody, but they're particularly hard for children and pets. And I suppose wives. I didn't like all that moving around when I was a kid, but in hindsight, it kept me from ever becoming provincially stupid. Stupid like regions can make a person through peer pressure and strange belief. And she was my anchor. I've always let my parents know that I love them. Mom knew. And about a year and a half ago, I went to visit her in hospice, and she had a stretch of clarity. The dementia, the fog went away for about 25 minutes to a half hour, I think it was. And she was fully present with me. And we talked about really deep stuff that we'd never discussed before. And I assured my mother that the same good God that gave her the children she was told she would never have, a husband who stuck with her for over 70 years, a woman who never thought a man would marry a woman who could not have children, and who suffered from epilepsy since birth. My mother was
movie star beautiful as a young woman and remained attractive right up to the end. She had a smile that could light up a room. And when she smiled, you felt her love for you. I have every confidence that I will see her again, as I have every confidence that she's been freed from the cage of her physical body, and that her bright, intelligent, compassionate, and madly creative soul is free to exist in the way that she was intended to exist. My mother was traumatized by the death of her own mother when she was very young. And all of the things that she grew up around as a child that would remind her of her mother vanished when her father remarried. And she grieved that all her life. I've really never met anyone more resilient, forgiving, humble, and hopeful than my mom. I'm a real pale shadow of the light she carried. I've been missing her for years. I missed her every single chance that we could have come together, that were denied me. But I will say that she was well taken care of medically. She was visited daily by family. And the hospice that she was in, it seems to me, was as kind and professional a location to spend your last 6 or 7 months as was available. I made every apology and every thank you that ever entered my mind regarding my mother while she was alive and could hear it. Because as a young person, I troubled her a lot. I took incredible risks. I was all boy. And what they now call extreme sports and stuff was my daily existence as a kid. I was wide open and living with velocity and fearlessness. They used to say I was a hyperactive kid. I was a hypervigilant kid. Kids who've been hurt when they're very young become hypervigilant. Distracted by potential danger. Mom was hypervigilant, but not easily triggered. And I miss her. still. But she's not hurting. She's not waiting for a visitor. She's not trapped in a bed with rails or a wheelchair, in a narcotic doze, painkillers and so forth. She'll never break her hip again. She'll never hit her head from a fall. And the joy that she always believed in and hoped for is hers now. She ran that race. She ran it real well. And for me, she was one of my spiritual beacons in life. She never gave up on me. She always remained interested in her children and their uniqueness. And she hid her disappointments well. Rest in peace, Eleanor, Lynwood, Byers, Hart. November 13th, 1930 to June 28th, 2025. A noble life, well lived.